We are mighty blessed here in Florida when you think about it. We have fabulous weather all year long, except for the hurricanes and a couple freezes here and there. But there are so many things to do, and one of those great draws for Florida is music. And many music festivals, they land in the Sunshine State, and that has impacts on local economies statewide. And then this week, we are going to take a bit of a dive into that, not like a crowd surfing kind of way, but we're up for just about anything here on In Focus. So joining me now, we have from Daytona Beach City Commissioner Monica Paris. Welcome, Commish, to the show. And we also have Luis Vieira, the District 7 representative on the Tampa City Council. Councilman, welcome back to In Focus. Thank you both so much for your time. Yeah, indeed. So let's rock on here with our show. Monica, let's start with you. Back in the day, Daytona Beach was the center of the spring break world because of the coverage on MTV. And there were plenty of musical acts that performed and all that. But the big thing now seems to be welcome to Rockville. Guns N' Roses, Foo Fighters, what? So what does that festival like that mean for Daytona Beach? Sounds huge.
Well, we're very excited that Rockville has decided to make Daytona Beach their home for the next 10 years. And they also will be at the Speedway, which is another great environment in itself. So what does that mean? It just brings a lot of diverse culture to our area. It also helps our local businesses. It diversifies our economy. And it's just a great addition to a lineup that we have here in the city of Daytona Beach for people to come and visit and enjoy themselves.
Yeah, what headliners, right? My gosh. And sticking with you, Commissioner, I just want to go back for a second. Your bio says that you grew up in Brooklyn and you visited your grandparents in Daytona Beach. So thinking back to those days of spring break, being on TV 24/7, that must have planted a seed about Florida, like it was the land of entertainment opportunity. Kind of take us to that view of our state.
So my first experience was as a preteen being on the beach. I had cousins that were lifeguards. My aunt worked at one of the toll booths. So it was very common that we would go to the beach every day while I was here. And back in the day, you just have cars driving up and down the beach and they'd be playing. My favorite was Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me. It was just a vibe, just an environment, the sun, the water, the music. It was just a real big community. And I just remembered to myself, I can't wait till I turn 18 because I want to go to spring week in Daytona Beach. And now I'm lucky as an adult to call Daytona Beach my home.
Wow, so beautiful. I wish I had a magic button here to play that as our soundtrack for this show. Luis, heading to you, Councilman. You, of course, born and raised in the Tampa area, and music is just a fabric of life in the Bay Area. Dissect that for me. Tell me about that. Yeah.
Well, pleasure to be here with everybody today. And yeah, music is a big part in the Tampa Bay area. We have a lot of wonderful venues. We obviously have the Gasparilla Music Festival coming up, which is a big part here in Tampa. I will say this, though, in hearing about Daytona Beach, I mean, it's funny. My son and I because we couldn't make it to the Daytona Beach Music Festival, but we really want to see the Foo Fighters, so we actually got tickets to see them in Philadelphia. Wow. So I am very, very jealous. I'm very, very jealous of Daytona Beach. But no, music is a big part of here in the Tampa area, whether it's large stadiums, whether it's smaller venues, whether it's music festivals. Music is a part of life. And, what the commissioner said with regards to Def Leppard and the Hysteria album, Pour Some Sugar on Me, that's the soundtrack of our lives. And, people who avail themselves to music avail themselves to memories in life, like Def Leppard in 1987.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Amen to that. And, so we talk about all the festivals across the state, some that you just mentioned, Councilman. So here are some of the big ones as well. Check this out. We have the Okeechobee Music Fest. We have the Suwanee Spring Reunion, Gasparilla, of course, music festival that you mentioned. Tampa Bay Blues Festival, Country Thunder, Florida, of course, and Welcome to Rockville, we've been talking about. And then we also have EDC, the Electric Daisy Carnival in Orlando. And all of these, just a very partial list from what we found at musicfestivalwizard.com. All kinds of genres. So Councilman, several of those you mentioned right there in your backyard. So like I asked Monica before, what do though these festivals mean for the Tampa Bay area and having them cross those genres? Yeah.
Absolutely. And so it's a number of things. It allows people to experience new bands. I mean, I've seen folks listen to bands for the first time in live concert and become a lifelong fan. And it allows people to be able to see those smaller bands that maybe they wouldn't see otherwise. And it just draws a sort of cultural richness to an area, whether it's jazz or whether it's rock or whether it's rap or hip hop or country music, whatever it may be. It's so important to have all musical genres represented in these music festivals because they mean so much to people's culture and people's lives. So it just adds to the cultural richness of a community.
Yeah, I love that cultural richness indeed. And then Monica, to piggyback off that, music festivals in that richness aren't the only thing happening during the year at the world's most famous beach. Daytona 500, of course, Bike Week, Biketoberfest, the list goes on and on. From a city standpoint, talk to me, if you will, about the investment in resources, not only to bring and keep these events in Daytona Beach, but what you need to do in order to help keep everybody safe. Unpack that, if
Absolutely.
you will. Yeah.
Well, before any event takes place, a bunch of different departments get together to make sure where the needs are. Things that even we may not think about, like trash removal, traffic issues, where barriers need to be set up. But our police department and our fire department, they work very closely together to make sure that all our visitors are safe when they come here. There's a lot of pre-planning that needs to be done. We also work with other law enforcement agencies when these big events come into town. So it's not taken lightly. Everyone sees the final event and having a good time, but there is a lot of work that goes into preparing for these big events. And I'm very proud of our police department, our fire department, and what they do to keep our residents and visitors safe year-round, not only for these events.
And those barriers particularly have evolved over the last couple of years. And Louis, the same question to you. Tampa is a huge name and really a brand that's known worldwide. So what's the investment from the city, county, and surrounding areas to bring this entertainment to the area and at the same time to make sure these moms, dads, grandparents, kiddos feel safe and are safe?
Yep. Well, without a doubt, public safety is issue number one, and we live in dangerous times. Everybody knows that. I always tell people, all it takes is one bad actor. All it takes is one bad actor for a large tragedy to occur. And that's why we have our police officers. That's why we have our firefighters, our partners in the state, our partners in the federal government on different issues. And we are always cognizant of that, whether it's for something small or for something larger. It's always interesting in talking to police officers and firefighters who get to play at venues or get to do security at venues. For example, we recently had Metallica here, as well as AC/DC. And, a lot of firefighters that were, scheduled to do work there often were very, very happy because they get to rock out to AC/DC while doing their job. So there's also I guess a lighthearted side to that as well, if you will.
I want to go back to something I saw on the list that we had from musicfestivalwizard.com. A bunch of those listings that we were checking out, they were on musical festivals on cruise ships that leave our Florida ports. So, Monica, Commissioner, this is one of those things that maybe you hear about, but it doesn't quite register. But really, what we're talking about is getting tourists into the state and using Florida as perhaps a vacation base of operations. That's really important, I imagine. Expound on what you know about that.
Well, I know that there are some cruises that I was privy to and invited to, mostly salsa cruises, dances, salsa dancing on these cruises. Any person that does go to our Florida ports, they're going to have to cross through cities. So, of course, I'm always hopeful that they'll come and check out Daytona Beach and see what we have to offer as well. It's just another option for people to fly in and do something else, whether it's in a stadium or whether it's out at sea. I'm for it.
Indeed, indeed. And same thing to you, Lewis. No cruise, though, no cruise festivals leaving the port of Tampa on the schedule that we could see right now. But that idea is something that could get people to the Tampa Bay area for at least a while, where they could spend some money, say on an overnight hotel stay or hitting up some local areas before or after cruising. So talk about those benefits to the region. Yeah.
Absolutely. We have the port here in Tampa, and we always hear about cruises. There's a lot of nostalgic 1980s headbanger cruises that you see a lot of times, where a lot of bands, Winger, Warrant, Whitesnake, White Lion, all the bands with W get together and have a good time. One of the greatest cruises that people, I don't think they've ever gone through Florida, is the Kiss cruise. For years, the band Kiss, they always do a Kiss cruise. And in fact, this past year, they did a festival. It was a landlocked Kiss cruise at Las Vegas, and my son and I went this last year to see Kiss at a festival, which was pretty awesome. So again, those things are really cool, and if we can get those here to Florida, the more the better. They're nothing but a good time, to quote Poison. Good stuff.
Man, your son's a lucky dude, Councilman.
Oh, he's a good kid.
Right there.
He's
I
a good
that.
guy.
And actually, Gene Simmons was at SeaWorld for the Seven Seas Food Festival in February, so he still gets around.
We missed him. We missed him, and we mourned that.
Yeah.
We got to meet him a couple months ago, and it was a lot of fun.
Nice, right on. And sticking with you, Councilman, we've talked a lot about festivals, like you mentioned, hip hop, rock, country, but there are the jazz, the classical music festivals out there too. Maybe not with a mosh pit or anything like that, but let me ask you this: when it comes to economic drivers, is it better to have splashy, ritzy Broadway style black tie events that cost a pretty penny, once every few months? Or is it more about volume and having perhaps lower costing events on a much more regular basis? What's the deal with all that?
Yeah. So, you number one, you want to have a diversity of music, whether your stuff is Hank Williams Jr. or whether your stuff is Tupac Shakur or whether your stuff is Def Leppard. We ought to have a festival and amenities for you musically. I think that's important. And affordability is very important. You see a lot of these concerts. We read about it a lot. Concerts where they're out of reach for everyday working families, and it's only getting worse, and we have to make sure that we have music festivals where especially young people, and everyday working families can go there and just have a good time. Concerts, the cool thing about a concert is you're with a bunch of people and you're listening to a performer. You don't know what the people's politics are, what God they worship, whatever, but you're rocking out to the same person. And that's as cool as it gets.
Yes, I dig that. And Monica, then, to go off that, do music festivals the councilman was referring to, do they get a bad rap in general? Is there perhaps an other side of the tracks mentality when it comes to what you might call distinguished music and theaters, as opposed to, I'm just envisioning thousands of kids who are out there getting a sunburn for 18 hours a day, just waiting for their favorite band to take the stage. I mean, two totally different worlds, but talk to that stigma, perhaps.
Well, here in Daytona, we're also home to the Symphony Society. They were with the Peabody for a while. Now they're at the News Journal Center. So as Lewis was saying, there is a lot of diversity. You want to bring a lot of people out, especially at the Peabody. We have a lot of shows. I mean, last year I was able to go see Tom Jones, and let me just tell you, he could still rock out. I was so impressed.
I was there with you, girl.
Yes, and I'm telling you, and it's very reasonably priced as well. Different stigmas, with any new event that comes into town, you always have your growing pains. Maybe a little traffic issue, noise issue, but we always work with the promoters and our local law enforcement to see where we could do better for the next time. So I mean, everything has its ups and downs, but we want to offer something for everyone to come and visit beautiful Daytona.
There it is. That's some of the flash and the sass from the Electric Daisy Carnival in Orlando. This was just this past November. EDC has been coming to Central Florida for a whopping 15 years, which is just unthinkable at this point. So, let me tell you, the people watching there, I don't know if you two have been, it's spectacular. I don't even have the proper adjective, but anywho, Monica, to you, as we wrap up the show, what is the entertainment message coming out of Daytona Beach? The more the merrier, bring your bucks, party, but have a safe time. What's your takeaway?
There is something for everyone to do here. With the amount of events we have, Bike Week, we have Speed Week, we have all these other different events. We want people to come visit our city, know that there is something to do for everybody. So we hope you come on down.
And what are you, besides Rockville, what for you and your family do you kind of have as a tradition where you can't miss every year, or maybe an inaugural?
Well, we have our summer series at the band shell, which starts in June to September, and it's on Friday and Saturday nights at the iconic band shell right on the beach, and it's just beautiful. And there's a bunch of tribute bands, and it's free for people. And if you want to have a VIP experience, that's also available as an option. But it's something a must see to do when you come to Daytona in our summertime.
I mean, you've had like Prince to U2 to Michael Jackson tributes. I mean, and followed by fireworks during the band shell summer concert series. That's a huge draw indeed. And Lewis, Councilman, to wrap up the show, Tampa, of course, huge entertainment hub. And what's your message about music festivals and concerts in the area, and maybe to help folks navigate their planning journey in the months ahead? Because you seem to have it going on with your son to hit up all the good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, with concerts, just make them a part of your life. I mean, they're memories. Music is the soundtrack of our lives. It is. It's certainly been the soundtrack of my life, and that's why I love to go to concerts, just to connect with music and the art form. It means a lot to me. There are a few things that you can do that really touch your soul, and for me, when you go to a concert, right, you get your soul touched a lot of times because you're with people who are like-minded, again, not on politics or religion or whatever, but in terms of the values of that entertainer, and that means a lot. So just avail yourself to concerts. I know that it takes time to get there, but make it a part of your life because it's worth it. That's what life is about. Again, the soundtrack of your life. For me, it starts with Bruce Springsteen and it goes to everything else, but it's a soundtrack of your life.
And very well said. And if you don't act on it, because I know Barry Manilow and Frankie Valli, they both had to postpone recently, and so you just never know, for health reasons or whatever, if you don't act on it and relive that soundtrack of your life. So you two, thank you so much. Monica and Lewis, thank you for being on In Focus this week. What a fun show.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. To keep up with important issues impacting our communities and hear more conversations with the people who are shaping the future, subscribe to our channel. You can also download our app or find Spectrum News on your TV for balanced, in-depth political coverage and more.